So good day, mom. So today I'm gonna explain the student grade manager. So here is the output of the student grade manager. So in here we can see the add function, which we can add a student. So first let's click add. So as you can see here, we have an input, which is for the name of the student, and the other one is the email. So first let's input for the name Bob, and for the email, so bob@gmail.com. Then click save student. So as you can see here, we can see the student, so name Bob, and the email of Bob. So as you can see here, Bob don't have any grades yet, so let's add grade. So here we have an input for the subject, so let's input math, and for the grade it's say 87. So save grade. So as you can see here, we saved the grade for Bob, which is math 87. So as you can see here, it pop ups another action for the grades, so which is edit and delete. So for the edit and delete for the grades, so basically the edit. So first let's try the edit first. So as you can see here, we can edit the subject and also the grade. First let's edit the grade of the student, let's say 90. So as you can see here, the grade has been edited, and also let's add more grades. So let's say science, and for the grade let's say 88. So as you can see here, let's try the delete button for the grades. So if I click the delete button, so it alerts which says that do you want to delete, or confirmation if you want to delete. So let's click delete. Okay, so it deleted the science grades. So as you can see here, we have an other actions. So that other action is refers to the whole students. So edit, so it edit the name for students and also their email. So let's say edit the email of Bob, which add 21 and update. So as you can see here, the email, it changed to Bob 21, so it edited the email. So for other function, the delete, so let's add another student to delete. So first name Alice, and email alice@gmail.com. So add, so we add another student. So let's try the delete for. So if I click delete, so another confirmation. So let's click OK. So as you can see here, we delete the whole student, their grades, their name, and their email. So that's all for the, I think, for the student grade manager, which is we have the add student, and for the grades functions we have a edit and delete, and for the other action is we have the add grade and edit student information and delete student information. So that would be all for the output of the student manager. So let's go now to the our database of this student grade manager. So before we connect to the SQL, so let's change the directory of our file to SQL, to MySQL. So here are the prompt to change the directory of our file. Then to connect the MySQL, let's use this prompt, MySQL u root, then p. So let's just enter. Then let's check for the databases. So as you can see here, we have our database name grade manager. So let's use that, use grade manager, semicolon, then enter. So as you can see, we changed the database to grade manager. So let's check the tables, show tables. So we have two tables, grades and students. So let's describe them, describe grades. So here are the attributes for the grades. So let's describe the students. So as you can see here, we have the two tables and we're being described. So first, let's explain the first table for the grades. So we have four attributes, which is ID, student ID, and subject and grade. So for the ID, we have in type, and we set to null, and it's also a primary key. And then we have an extra, which is auto increment. So for the student ID type, which is int, then null, yes. Then for the subjects, we have varchar with a value of 160, and for the grade is float. So for the next table, which is the students, so we have three attributes, which is ID, name, and email. So for ID, we have an int type, and for the name varchar, and for the email varchar. So the primary key is the ID. So let's go now to the coding part of the Grademanager. So first, let's connect our database. So we have a PHP here and a variable host. So we are using localhost, so that's a value. And for the user, so it's a default root. Then for the password, so set for empty first. Then for the database, so we have a database name Grademanager. So the next one is the variable const. So we're setting a new instances for the MySQL INA class. So that way we are establishing a connection to our MySQL database. Next one is the if. So checks is if there's an error in the connection. So if there is an error, so connection failed. So if there's not, it will connect the database. So let's go now to the next one, which is the header.php. So in this file, we are putting the basic structure of the HTML, which is the declaring of the doc type. So declaring doc type to HTML, so that we can reuse this whenever we want. So we don't have to constantly declare every file HTML. So the next one, which is the main page, which is index.php. So in the index file, so we are including the db.php, so it's establishing the connection to our database. The next one is the include student.php, which is the class for the student, and include grade, so also class for the grade. And the next one is the variable students, so it's instance for the students. And the next is grade variable, and creating an instance for the grade. And for the variable students, so it retrieves all the student records using the function from the class getAll. Next one is php include header, so that is the basic structure of the HTML. So in our body, we have a container. So in the container is we have an h1 tag, student grade manager, and then we have an href length add student.php. So it's a button that will go to the add student, that will let us add students. So the next one is the table. So this is where we display the basic information. So as you can see here, we have a name, email, and grades, and the different actions of our system. So those are the header of our table. The next one is the PHP. We are using the while loop, so to retrieve the data record of the students, so which to display in our table. The next one is the new table row for every students, and print their name and their email that we get for the database. Next one is that we have a variable grade, and we are calling the method or the function of the grade class, so it passed the student ID to retrieve the student's grade from the database. And we loop it through all grades for the current students, so each grade is fetched using the fetch assoc. So we add now a new div, which is have class grade row for the grade. So in the line 33, so basically it displayed the subject and the grade for each grade record that associate with this student. And for the next one is different links for the function of the grades, which is the edit grade and for the delete grade. And lastly, for the last column, which we have the function for the students, which add grade, edit student, and delete student. And also we include the footer.php. So let's go to the next one, which is the student.php. So this student.php, it contains the class for the students. So first we include the db.php for the connection, and then we create a class named student. Then we declare a private variable con, so it hold the database connection. In this class we have 6 methods. So first we have a constructor, and we have one parameter, which is connection. So basically this method is checking the database connection. And for the next method is the add, which add a new students to the database, and it takes 2 parameters, which is name and email. So basically this method, it insert the new data of a student into our database. The next method is the getAll. It retrieves all the student data from the database. Next method is the getById, and it takes 1 parameter, which is the ID. Basically this method will return the student with the associated ID. The next method is update, which it have 3 parameter, which is the ID, name, and email. So basically returns the updated information of the students. And lastly, we have the delete method. So it takes 1 parameter, which is ID. Basically delete the record of the student with the associated ID. Now for the grade class, so basically the same. First we have a class name grade and a private connection, then public constructor, same function, it basically check the connection of the database. Next method is add, that takes 3 parameters, student ID, subject, and grade. So this method, it will insert the grades and subject into the specific student ID and will store it in our database. Next method is getByStudent. It takes 1 parameter, student ID. So it retrieves all the grades of the student with the associated ID. The next method is getById. So it gets the specific grade using the ID parameter. Next method is the update. It takes 3 parameters, ID, subject, and grade. Basically it updates the subject and grade for a specific subject. The last method is delete. It takes 1 parameter, which is ID. So it deletes a grade from the record using by its ID. Then let's go to the next file, which is the add student. So first we include the db.php, so it establish connection, and also include the student.php, so we can access the class student. The next one is the if statement, so it checks if the form is submitted using the post method, and also it contains any data. In that if statement, we are using new instances, so new student, and we are also accessing the method from that class student, which is the add method. The next one is php include header.php, and we also create div class name container. So in the container we have a h1 tag, add grade, and we are using the form method post. The next one is for the different inputs. First we have the subject, so enter any subject like math or science, and the next input is for the grade, input any grade. Then lastly submit, so submit button, to save the grade, and href tag index.php to go back to the index.php, and also include that footer.php. So let's go now to the edit.php. So in edit.student, so first we also include here establish connection db.php, and also the include student.php, access the class of student. And then also here we are creating new instance for the students, and we are using the also the method of the class, which is get by id. The next one is the if statement again. So if the form is submitted using the post method, and also the post contains any data. After checking the conditions, so it will redirect back to the index.php after updating the record. So similar to the last one, so this container, so it contains different inputs for updating the information. So different inputs such as the name and the email. So and also it contains the submit button, which is the update student. So it will, after clicking the submit button, it will redirect back to the index.php. So to the next file, which is the edit grade. So in edit grade, so same here, so include db.php and include grade.php. So here it's similar. Instead of student, we are creating new instance for the grade class, and also we are accessing the method in the grade class, which is get by id. And in this edit.grade, so it's similar logics to the edit student. So it also contains the if statement. So if the form is submitted using the post method and it contains any data, and if it's true, so it will redirect to the index.php after editing the information. Also here in the container, it's similar to the edit student. Instead of the student input, so here it's subject and grade. So those are the basic input of the edit grade, and it also contains the submit button, which is update grade, then also redirect to index.php. So let's go to the next one, which is the delete student. Basically in this file, you will delete a student record using its id to find the student record and delete it into our database. So after deleting the record of that student, so redirect back to the index.php. Else, so it if the id is invalid, so it will echo invalid id. So the next one is the delete grade. So in this file, so basically it will delete the grade instead of the student record, and also here it will use the id as an identifier. So it will delete a specific grade of the subject. So after deleting the grade of the specific subject, it will redirect back to the main page or the index.php. Else, if the id is invalid, so it will echo invalid id. So let's go to the last one, which is the css. So style.css. So in the body, we set the font family to Arial and sans serif, and the background color to set the value to specific hex code, and the margin 0, padding 0, and the color with a specific hex code. And for the class container, so we set the max width to 800px, margin to 30px auto, background color to specific hex code, the padding 20px, and a border radius of 8px. So for table, so we make it to with 100% and the border collapse, so it makes the borders into single border and the margin top to 20 px. So for the next styles is for the table and th and td, so we set the border to 1 px and solid and with a light gray border color. For the table header, we set the background color to a light gray, and for the table header and for the cells, so we set the padding to 10 px and text align to left. So for the table row, we also have an hover, so background color to light gray. And for the class button form button, so set the styles for buttons with a blue background and white text and a rounded corner, and also add a hover effects and to darken the button color. So for the button danger, so it is for the buttons for deleting any data, and for the next one is for the input fields, so style for the form input, so giving them a consistent look and adding focus effect with a blue border with a 100% width and a padding of 8 pixels, margin top to 5 pixels and the margin bottom to 15 pixels, and set the border to 1 px solid and border radius to 4 px. And for the input focus, so border color changes the color to blue when the input field is focused, and outline set to none and add a little back shadow. For the success class, so color green set to color green and the margin bottom to 10 px. And for the error, so color to red and margin bottom 10 px. And for the footer style, text align to center and set the font size to 13 px. Set the color to medium grade and add a margin top with a 40 px. So for making the web responsive, so we set the max width to 600 px for the container with the padding of 10 px. And for the table, reduce the font size to 10 px, and the button and the form buttons, so reduce the font size to 12 px and padding of 6 px and 10 px. For the grade row, so flex direction to column and align items to flex start. So for the grade row span, margin bottom to 5 px. So that would be all for the Grademanager system. So thank you.